So then it's final time once again, and this time it's the turn of the seniors. We just heard from the drivers on the grid. There's a few disgruntled drivers after the pre-finals, but hopefully they can now put that all behind them and get themselves set on what this is going to be a 19-lap final. It gets longer and longer, a lot more challenging, a lot more racing, and the seniors this weekend have been so action-packed, and hopefully the final's not going to let us down because we've got some quick competitors out there ready to go. And of course, the way the grid lines up for this one is going to see the man who went quickest in the pre-final to start from pole position. He gets himself this pole. Due to that, it's going to be Rinus van Kalmthoort as the karts are now fired up. They're about to set off on their first of two warm-up laps, and of course the first row is then ended by Jordan Lennox-Lamb, first and second on the grid.
Just to quickly say, it's at that point that someone said good luck Rinus, as you mentioned his name. Danny Crow's on the stream, so please do mention that.
Yeah, thanks very much. Danny Crow's then wishing our poleman very good luck indeed. That's the front row. Back on row number 2 is going to be the likes of Sam Marsh and Brett Ward. Both of those we spoke to on the grid. They're optimistic about their hopes for this final as well. Ed Brand, 5th on the grid. First time this weekend. He's been on the inside run for turn 1. Let's see what he can pull out the bag this time. He's got Dennis Mavlinov, a focus man, ready to go alongside on row 3. Back to row 4, it's then going to be Christopher Drayspring and Richard Vashaw. After being excluded from qualifying, he's gradually worked his way towards the front, and the best place he's possibly started this weekend. He could be another big challenger in this senior race, which just shows how open this category is for this weekend here in Italy. Back to row 5 is going to be then Maurizio van der Laan, with alongside him the likes of Josh White. Row 6 is Carlos Gil and Gary Donnelly. Row 7 is then Luke Varley and Martin Mortensen, a man who had to go through the second chance heat earlier on this morning, 14th on the grid for him. Piers Lehane and Carol Dabsky line up on row 8. Row 9 sees Ollie Askew and Berke Besler, third in the championship coming here. A torrid weekend for Berke so far. And row 10 is Jonathan Aberdeen and Harry Webb, reigning champion from last year's senior championship. Row 11 sees Leonard Hugenboom, a man who had troubles through the pre-final and had a few penalties after that race as well. Luke Verlelms should line up alongside. We'll have to wait and see if he's on the grid. Row 12 is then Louis Ferdinand Simonauer and Shane Daly. Row 13 sees Luke Montfort and Giacomarti Poulin. Row 14 is John Stewart and Jai Najjar, two more people we heard from on that grid. Row 15 is Sam Schmelt and Alessandro Trombelli. Row 16 sees Nicholas Pico and Adrian Renadan. And towards the back, row 17, watch out for these two. Last year's junior runner Max Timmermans and Tom Grice, another quick man after a disastrous pre-final. That rounds out our 34 starters for this, the final for seniors, here at round 2 of the Rotax Max Euro Challenge. And we're bunching up, which means we're about to go racing.
Aren't we just? 34 drivers that are hell-bent on getting themselves towards the front, but only one of them can lead at a time, although that's not always strictly true, it seems, in karting. It is that close, and it has been all weekend. But they've got themselves slowed down. They've got themselves side by side. Are we going to get this race away? First time. We've had a few false starts recently, but they're now coming down the start-finish straight. The lights are indeed off, and we'll just make sure that everybody's happy. They're heading into that first corner, and there's a couple that have been pushed wide, and there's yellow flags down there. Someone has spun. We'll have to wait and see who that is. I got a feeling that might be Ed Brand, unfortunately, has been spun round. The first time that he's been on the inside, and he's lost out. And 206, Piers Lehane, that has had an incident and just exiting turn number 3. So that's a couple of the key players have really lost out there, Matt.
They certainly have, but look at this for the lead of the race. Jordan Lennox-Lamb somehow, from the outside of row 1, managed to get into the lead of the race, and he's blasted past Rinus van Kalmthoort to lead for this first lap. As they head their way down towards turn number 10, there's more melee down at turn 9. Yellow flags wave as one of the recovering karters get back on their way. But two dramatic stories from that first lap. Ed Brand down towards the back, and championship leader Piers Lehane also involved in the action as well. Top 2 go through for the first time. Third place then for 207, which is Brett Ward. Richard Vashaw, what a move from him up the field from 8th on the grid. He ends the first lap down in 4th place, and another spinner as well lower down in the field there. I think that's Sam Marsh in 266. So Sam has gone for a spin at turn 2. He rejoins after starting way up the field. Sam is now falling down like a stone in this one, but what an action-packed start to this senior race, Chris.
Unbelievable. I mean, it was almost too hard to keep up with everything that was going there. And we have a change at the front, and that must mean that Rinus van Kamp, Jordan is back again. So it's like, that's how quickly it's changing. As the cameras catch up with everything, it's going to be changed around. And all that fighting between these front two means that we've got Brett Ward and, like you say, Richard Verschoor. What a fabulous performance he keeps putting in. He's moved himself all the way up. He's in fourth, but he could be in first just as quick as anything else, because that is how this final has been playing out so far.
It sure has. And watch the top four now, all tied together by a very small piece of string at the minute, as Jordan Lennox-Lamb works his way in the lead of the race through turns number 5 and heads down the back straight towards turn 6. But watch out now, a move may just come from behind there as Rinus van Kamphoort looks for the move. In terms of another place that's just changed, Richard Verschoor now gets himself into third, and who's moved up to 5th place there? Dennis Mavlinov has gone through on Gary Donnelly. So lots of changes happening, and now Rinus van Kamphoort's got himself to the lead ahead of Jordan Lennox-Lamb. Here comes the change as well for second, as down the inside line there goes Richard Verschoor, and contact. Brett Ward makes contact with Jordan Lennox-Lamb down at turn number 10, and that's disastrous. There's more cars going spinning. A loop there. There's a tyre that's off one of the carts as well. It's drama in this one. We've only just begun. 2 laps into the race. Brett Ward's out, and someone has made dramatic contact with him as well.
That was a big hit. That what does that cost? That's about 3 or 4 carts are now out, all from that one. And as you say, there is a tyre off. Rinus van Kamphoort, that was on the pole position, now finds himself in the lead. And would you believe it, second position, Richard Verschoor had to start every race from the back of the grid yesterday. And we've got a few very disgruntled, very frustrated, very upset drivers now walking away from their stricken carts. And I think they're probably inconsolable. Jordan Lennox-Lamb still finds himself in that third position, although he's lost contact with those front two at the moment. And Richard Verschoor, I thought, was going to have a look up the inside into turn 11. Not quite, but he's certainly looking to carry that momentum onto the start, finish straight, and down into the first corner. 2-4-1. Oliver Askew just made a move up then, and he's still continuing up through. I had noticed that Leonard Hugenboom is 5th position after his penalty, started down in 21st, and he's now running in 5th.
Woo! What a drive there from Leonard Hugenboom up to 5th place. There was a very disgruntled person in front of us, Brett Ward, who is absolutely gutted with what's just happened down at turn number 10. He's worked his way back through. There's a slow 240 working its way across the line there in towards the first corner. That's another one that's going to lose places hand over fist. Yep, yeah. So Gary's out of this race as well. But look at this, back to the front then with the top two, Rinus van Kamphoort and Richard Verschoor. It's still in that order for the time being. It's a darker blue colour of Richard Verschoor that sits in second place, and they've now got quite a margin over the rest of the field as well. Jordan Lennox-Lamb, after having a little bit of contact with Brett Ward, is on his own in 3rd place. Leonard Hugenboom that time round goes to 4th place. So another place taken and a change for the lead. Down the inside there goes Richard Verschoor. He gets the job done at turn 2 and finds himself now ahead of Rinus van Kamphoort. All that happens for the top 3, and look at the trainer carts now from 4th on backwards.
It is, isn't it? From 4th backwards. I think we got someone else that stopped just off the line there. Is that Ed Brand that has actually retired now? No, it's not Ed, is it? But can't quite make out the number from here, but incredible from, like you say, from 4th backwards. Leonard Hugenboom, I just cannot believe this. He's performing so well. His next target is Jordan Lennox-Lamb, who is kind of having a fairly lonely race at the moment, but judging by his previous heats, he's got every opportunity and every likelihood to close up. But I cannot believe this. Coming across in the lead and pulling away is Richard Verschoor. He started every heat yesterday right at the back of the grid. So absolutely brilliant performance.
It certainly is. So lots going on there on the track at the minute, and this fight for 5th place is really good indeed. It's 2-2-5 now. That's at the head of it. Maurizio van der Laan has worked his way through. Who else have we got in there? Carlos Gil. We've also got the likes of Karol Dabski, Harry Webb, reigning champion. What a race this is turning in for Harry. 20th place on the grid. Now finds himself in the top 8 places. What a drive so far from Harry. Let's see what he can do further as this one carries on. 13 laps remaining. Unlucky for some, not for Richard Verschoor at the minute. Here's the man who leads ahead of Rinus van Kamphoort. 1st and 2nd are on their way here, having a great tussle out front. Jordan Lennox-Lamb just sits there in 3rd place. The gap at that previous lap, or the gap at the end of that previous lap, between 2nd and 3rd was 1.5 seconds. That time it goes up to 1.7. So Jordan just losing a bit of time now, but he needs the man in 4th place, Leonard Hugenboom, to join him for company, and maybe they'll be able to work together to try and catch the top 2 now.
Oh, I'm not sure that Leonard Hugenboom is going to be interested in working together. I think he's having such a storming drive. Remember, he started 21st position. I agree, there's every logic that those two should work together, but Leonard has proven that he's a racer and he's just going to want to get past Jordan, and he's going to then see what he can do for the two out up front. But that's quite a gap those front two have got, and that kind of keeps ebbing and flowing, the gap between those front two. The other one that I've just suddenly noticed, Pierce Lehane, we saw him have that issue in the opening lap, but he has got himself up to 13th position, arrived here as championship leader. He's having to work hard as they come flying around the final corner onto the start-finish straight with 11 laps remaining, 8 laps completed, so there's still a lot of work for these drivers to do, and my goodness, they are working hard. Ed Brand is just about to try and make a move up the inside, and he has done it, and he's brought someone else with him, which actually means he's about to lose 2 positions, but is ahead of the car that was ahead of him as he went over the line. That makes sense?
It certainly does. So that's a change there. Lower down the order in about 15th or 16th places. He's working with Burke Besler, or trying to fight with Burke Besler. Max Timmermans was one of those who went through, and also Sam Marsh as well, up into 15th place. A real gaggle of cars now heading down towards turn 7 as we see the rest of the field work their way through. First and second, Richard Verschoor, Rinus van Kamthorpe, Jordan Lennox-Lamb. I think he's just dropping off the pace now. The gap is growing and growing. So if he was attacked by Brett Ward earlier on in this race, he now may be suffering just slightly here, because Leonard Hugenboom is right now catching up with him in 3rd and 4th places. So watch out for those two as they work their way in towards the second corner. We've got still in 5th place Maurizio van der Laan. We've got Carlos Gil in 6th, and Harry Webb still going well in 7th place at the minute. Great scrap going on down lower in the order, as we know. We've got Pierce Lehane still making progress. He's now up into 12th place, and the next one to work his way through is going to be Nicholas Pico. But an eventful start to this race. Now it's kind of slowing down just briefly. We'll get that for about 4 or 5 laps, but then of course it'll all start once again in the final 5 laps.
It's a false security, that's all that is. It's still going to go hell for leather. There is quite a few, as you can see around the circuit, are out. Luke Farley, Gary Donnelly, Brett Ward, Dennis Mavlanov, John Stewart, Yakamati Powlin, Shane Daly, Josh White and Luke Valence, all out of this race, unfortunately. So it has been carnage in these early laps. 9 laps remaining though, and our leader Richard Verschoor is really looking assured of himself, because he's just starting to stretch his legs and pull away from 219 Rinus van Kamthorpe. Then it's a bit of a gap back to Jordan Lennox-Lamb, who instead of looking forward is going to have to start looking backwards pretty soon, because Leonard Hugenboom, we've already said, a fabulous performance from 21st on the grid up to 4th, and then it's a bit of a gap back to number 225, Maurizio van der Laan. So at the moment, though, Richard Verschoor trying to see if he can just break the toe of 2nd position Van Kamthorpe.
Yep, the gap between 3rd and 4th is coming down and down as well. So Leonard Hugenboom here bringing that gap to Jordan Lennox-Lamb to just 0.4 of a second. So 3rd and 4th through the final corner they come. The red and white machine of Jordan on his return to the Rotax Max Euro Challenge here this weekend. And of course the man who sits behind him, Leonard Hugenboom for Strawberry Racing, is now on the attack once more. They go through turns 2 and 3. The gap that time stays about the same between those two, 0.4 of a second, as they make the run down the back straight now for the 12th time of asking. Still just over 7 laps to go. Richard Verschoor is looking good out in front. Rinus van Kamthorpe just now dropping back in 2nd, but then we'll see what he can do in the second half of this race, which is now well and truly underway. 3rd and 4th down towards the hairpin at turn number 9, and before too much longer, surely Leonard Hugenboom's going to go for a move here, because he's getting closer and closer. As soon as he can get onto the tail of Jordan Lennox-Lamb, he'll then get the toe down the straights. He'll then try for the moves in the corners, and we'll see if he can get up to 3rd place, and then of course he's got laps to try and get onto the top 2 as well.
Another person that's looking to get even further up is Harry Webb, and he has indeed managed to dispatch Carlos Gil. And so he is now up to 6th position. A great performance by Harry Webb. We've seen him come into grips with that car. It started 20th. He's now up to 6th in this race, because he did, on that previous lap, manage to sneak past 261 Carlos Gil. Richard Verschoor still in the lead by 0.9, just under 0.9 of a second. So nearly a second. Not much of a difference between friends there. So he is trying to just stamp his authority on this now. The big fight, as Matt said, is for that 3rd position. Jordan Lennox-Lamb is being put under increasing pressure by Leonard Hugenboom. Is Hugenboom going to be able to reel him enough to get within striking distance of a move? He's shown that he's prepared to make the moves. He's moved from 21st and he's up in that 4th, and I don't think he's done yet.
We need to get the cork out again, don't we? Just to bunch this top 6 up a little bit more, just to make it interesting for those who are trying to catch up. The likes of Harry Webb, who sits there in 6th place, is still being attacked all the time by kart 261, which is Carlos Gil. So those two are not done yet. And they've got 2 more on their tail as well. They've got Carol Dabsky and also Ollie Askew as well. So a 4-way fight that goes on for 6th place just through turn 6. They're now going up towards the hairpin, the restaurant at turn 7. Someone's just slowed there as well, off the back straight. And that's going to be possibly Max Timmermans by the looks of it. So Max, I think, is going to be dropping out of this race down at turn number 6. Yellow flags wave, which means we'll try and work out who it is, but I'm sure it's Max who has not come through.
Okay, well, that's going to be a shame, or it could be. We seem to have lost Oliver Askew, so it may be him. We'll have to keep an eye on that. It's down the far side of the circuit, so it's a little bit tricky for us to be able to see, but there's no such changes for the top 8. It is indeed Oliver Askew, car 241, just slowed down that back straight and pulled off on the corner. So yeah, he is indeed out. Yellow flags waving now, so that's no overtaking as they head down to that. We would have said that wasn't really an overtaking spot, but we've been proved wrong on that because they really have been prepared to dive down the inside at the last minute on that corner as well.
Yeah, they certainly are. So moves being made at plenty. We can see the overalls of Ollie Askew down there at turn number 6, and Max has disappeared somewhere on that previous lap as well. So we've lost 2 from the race. This track is scattered with cars. Everywhere you look, every single corner, there are damaged cars sitting around the track, which is not good at all for them, but we've still got a great scrap going on up front, and it looks like Richard Verschoor now pulling away from our second place man, Rinus van Kaunthorpe. But look at Jordan Lennox-Lamb. He's had a second burst of speed now because the gap is coming down and down. It sits at just under 0.8 of a second, and he's going to try and take Leonard Hugenboom with him as well. So the fight for second, third and fourth is not just done. 2 steps left on the podium and 3 people want it, but which 3 and which 2 will come through to claim those? Just under 4 laps now to go, but Jordan Lennox-Lamb on the money once again. He's taken Leonard with him. He's got Maurizio van der Laan in 5th and Harry Webb in 6th as well.
Has his local knowledge come into play here that he's just allowed himself the opportunity to take a breath? Or not really himself. I would say the biggest thing is going to be the tyres. Interesting thing, Matt, as we look out the window, the sun's coming back out again. What effect is that going to have on the grip levels here? We walk the track. It's sticky once the tyre rubber is down on the circuit. The heat is now building up. And is it going to have an effect on that? We're going to have to wait and see. Coming round the first of the 2 complexes, turns 2 and 3, it is our leader, Richard Verschoor. He will be quite pleased that not only has he managed to break the toe back to Rinus van Kaunthorpe, but he may well see that Rinus is starting to get reeled in, as Matt said, by Jordan Lennox-Lamb. I was about to say that Leonard Hugenboom had fallen away from Jordan Lennox-Lamb, but I think you're right, Matt. It's the other way round, that Jordan has found like an extra gear from somewhere.
Yep, so let's see now what Jordan can do in the remaining laps we have in this race. Not long now to go, but Jordan Lennox-Lamb needs to think fast because he's running out of time. The gap is getting smaller, so he's got a chance of doing so. Much better there through the final couple of corners through 11 and 12. He's on the money once again. He picks up the speed as he heads across the line, and that time round, the lap times compared with each other, a 49.7 for Rinus, a 49.5, the best of the race for Jordan Lennox-Lamb. Again, he brings the gap down 0.6 of a second it now sits at, and Jordan Lennox-Lamb, what can he do as he heads his way down the back straight? He's picking up the speed there in kart 275, looks over his shoulder briefly just to make himself aware of where Leonard Hugenboom may be. He's not quite close enough, he's Leonard, so he's got no threat from behind. He can now just attack and attack and attack for the next 2 laps.
And I think they will. Jordan's not happy with the bottom step on the podium. I know everybody would say it's a fabulous podium to get, but he wants to step even higher. This is their penultimate lap. They will be coming round this time to take the last lap board. Richard Verschoor will be very pleased with this. I genuinely am absolutely bowled over with the performance by Richard Verschoor, starting in the very last position due to exclusion from qualifying in every single heat yesterday. And we loved watching him come through the grid, but none quite as masterful as this. He is in the lead, and he's comfortably in the lead. 1.3 seconds, nearly 1.4 seconds ahead of Rinus van Kaunthorpe, who's doing a brilliant job sitting in that second position. But is he going to come under increasing pressure on this final lap from Jordan Lennox-Lamb?
Let's find out then. We're now on the last lap of the race as the top 3 work their way through the hairpin at turn 7, down towards the right-hander at turn number 9. And what now can anyone do about place changes? I don't think there's going to be any here. It looks like Richard Verschoor has done a perfect job in the final here at round 2 at Sete Lagi. It's going to be a great fight towards the checker flag. But Richard Verschoor, after a disappointing qualifying on Friday, a disappointing Saturday, he comes through to take the checker flag here. What a drive from Richard Verschoor. He is our senior winner. winner, and that is well deserved after, of course, picking up not the better results on Saturday. He got a 4th, he got an 11th, and he got another 11th towards the end of the day. But Richard Verschoor, it just shows you put your mind to it, you can come away with one of the best results of the weekend. Rinus van Kalmthoort takes the checker flag in second. Jordan Lennox-Lamb, it could have been so much better, but still a man who'll visit the podium later on today. Leonard Hugenboom, after the disappointment, of course, of the pre-final, he now works his way back through for Strawberry Racing. Then it's the teammate CRG Spa of Maurizio van der Laan and Harry Webb. What a charging drive through the field, from 20th on the grid up to 6th, ahead of Carlos Gil. Piers Lehane, our championship leader, that's going to really shake up the championship, leaving round 2. And then further down, the likes of Ed Brand in 13th, Berke Besler, 3rd in the championship this weekend, 16th here this weekend, Martin Mortensen, Adrian Renadan, Sam Smelt in 20th, Ollie Askew down in 23rd, and then problems for the likes of Max Timmermans, who was a non-finisher, and the list will grow as well because there was many throughout that race that failed to finish in the end. Tom Grice, Luke Varley, Gary Donnelly, Brett Ward, Dennis Mavlinov, John Stewart, Giacometti Paulin, Shane Daly, and non-starts for Josh White and Luke Vilhelms. What a race for seniors, not what we really expected, because Richard Verschoor comes home the race winner here at round 2 of the Rotax Max Euro Challenge, and he wins by 1.3 seconds ahead of Rinus van Kalmthoort and Jordan Lennox-Lamb. The final step on the podium goes his way. Piers Lehane leaves this round as still the championship leader, 154 points after both pre-final and finals. Ed Brand moves up to 2nd on 147. Sam Marsh gets to 3rd for Dan Holland Racing after a pretty solid weekend. Berke Besler drops to 4th on 135, and joint with him in the championship for the CRG Spa team is Maurizio van der Laan. The ones that lose out this weekend, John Stewart drops down to 8th place after being 2nd after the first round. He's now on 116 points, and a few more down the order. Harry Webb will be happy with that final. He jumps to 13th now in the championship and sits on 105 points. But what a final that was. That is the seniors, and it's going to be Richard Verschoor, the winner from this weekend. What can he do now for the rest of the season? We'll find out, of course, at round 3.